Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Thank you so much for joining us for another episode of Afternoon Conversations. I am Andre Jaho. Thank you so much for joining us today. I really appreciate you coming on today. So, we're going to get right down to business. The Georgia Senate runoff deadline is December 7th. If you live in the Georgia area, please go out and vote. Continue to make your voices heard. You did make your voices heard. We made our voices heard with getting Donald Trump out of the White House. We still don't know what's going to happen with that. But we did make our voices heard by coming out in massive numbers. So let's continue, guys, to, it's not over yet. All right. So if you do live in the Georgia area, continue to do what you got to do. All right, guys. So I wanted to, I'm not sure if everybody knows. Okay, I'm from New York, and Mayor David Dinkins has passed away. New York's first African American mayor. And I just wanted to, send my condolences to his family. You know, God bless him. He was, what I'm saying, a great pioneer, what I'm saying, in setting up for Barack Obama to be the first African American president. If there was no David Dinkins, there may have not been a Barack Obama in the White House. So, much respect to David Dinkins. And David Dinkins was an American politician, lawyer, and author who served as the 106th mayor of New York City from 1990 to 1993. And, becoming the first American with African heritage to hold the office. Mayor Dinkins did pass away this past Monday at his home in Manhattan at the age of 93 years old. And when I was eight, so this when I was 8 years old, he was that's when he was put into office. Okay, and I remember thinking that this was so cool that a man that looks like me, is the mayor. But back then, I didn't really know race. I had no idea about race. But knowing what I know now, I just felt like, back then I knew there was something that was different, that was not ordinary about a black man holding that office. But now that I know how special that really was, it's I think it's a good thing, that he was able to be a pioneer in that, in that regard. And I want to bring on JD and Sharonda. How you guys doing?
What's up, y'all?
Doing good, doing good.
All right, all right. Yeah, so just talking about David Dinkins. I know you're not from New York, Sharonda, so you may not know about David Dinkins, but I know JD. You and I being from New York. What are your
Yeah,
thoughts on David Dinkins? Our former mayor.
you know what? It's finally good that I feel like it's sad, of course, that he passed, but I think that he passed at a ripe old age. You know what I'm saying? He was 93, which I think is a blessing for him to have lived that
Right.
long. Definitely with his accomplishments and everything. So it feels good that he to finally have one of us that we can actually honor and celebrate them. When they pass on, and we don't have to. I'm sure everybody has their skeletons, whatever, but I never really heard a lot of scandal around Mayor Dinkins. So that feels
Exactly.
good to kind of be able to just honor a black man. He lived his life. He didn't die too early. He didn't die from any type of controversy or anything like that, and nobody's throwing dirt on his name or anything. So it feels good. So, to be able to honor him and to say that he was like my mayor. I mean, you said you were 8. I was 10 at the time. So it felt good. And I remember rappers, they used to put them in their songs, and I know Tribe had Fight from Tribe had said something like, "Oh, Mister Jenkins, would you please be my mayor?" One of the songs he had, like honoring him too. So it feels good. It feels good
Yeah.
to be
Yeah.
able to honor him.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, do you have any thoughts? Even though you might not know about him, what do you think about African American mayor, the first one?
Well, of course, it's an amazing feat, to be the first, meaning everybody else was voting completely outside of that, and then to go against the grain and run for that seat and win it is a major game changer. So I'm definitely proud of Mr. Dinkins, and I'm glad that God graced us with His presence. I think it's a wonderful thing.
Yes, yes, it is. Yes, it is. Thank God for his life, and I'm glad that I lived in the era to see David Dinkins as the mayor. You know, a black man, and hopefully we will have another black man one day that would run for New York City mayor. Um,
Yeah.
salute to David Dinkins and his family. He did lose his wife last month. His wife passed away, so
Oh wow.
yeah, so it's bittersweet that he's with his wife now. Um, so condolences to his family. Everybody keep the Dinkins family and all his friends in your prayers. All right, guys. All right, so this is Afternoon Conversations, hosted by JD and Sharonda. So I will be now leaving this portion of the show, and I will be in my control center, just controlling everything. And all right, guys. So I'm gonna leave the show to you guys. So afternoon conversations with JD and Sharonda.
Well, thank
What's
you.
going on?
So I like how he put his control center up there. I like how he
Yeah,
made sure we,
exactly.
we know what that was.
So how you doing, Sharonda? How you doing today?
I'm doing good. I was telling Andre earlier that
Mhm.
this week is trying to get everything with work squared away, trying to get ready for Thanksgiving, get family, right,
Mhm.
and that kind of thing. So it's been a little busy, but it's good. I'm good.
Good, good, good. That's good. I was telling Sharonda and Andre earlier that I was having a bit of a week. And yeah, I'm still trying to work it out. And hopefully, this show is probably going to help me because the last show helped. Is for all y'all who saw, and I don't know, it actually really helped
Right.
me that Sharonda had us take a personality test that we're going to be discussing today. And I learned a lot about myself. It was so freaky to see, like, after
Yeah.
we did it, and when I did the test, I was like, I want to be honest, so some things were kind of hard to, swallow, but I wanted to be honest. Like, I wanted to be as honest as possible. So,
Right.
and when I got the results, I was like, and reading certain things, and I still haven't. It's a lot of stuff like to go through,
It is a
so I
lot.
haven't.
Yeah, it's a lot to take
Yeah, so
in.
I
Yeah.
haven't. Yeah, I haven't even gone through all of it yet. But I had my wife take it yesterday, and because I wanted to see hers, whatever. I was trying to get her to take it before we've been so busy, so she took
Yeah.
it, and we were reading each other's back and forth. So, and some of the things that was said, I told her, I said, sometimes some things you hear or read is going to be kind of hard to swallow at first because you might be like,
Hmm.
your first instinct is to kind of be like, that's not me, you know what I mean? Like, but when you think about it, it's like,
That
okay,
defensive wall.
yeah, exactly. So I told her, I said, you got to look
Yeah.
at it, without trying to disprove it. You got to just kind of
Right.
take it in, open. And
Yeah.
I would really encourage everybody. I hope somehow Andre can put the link up so everybody could take this particular test because this one is
Yeah.
really in depth. It was really good. You know, so
Well, I'm glad you took it, and I was surprised, just because, and I know we're on a talk show, so we have to talk back and forth. But when you
right.
said I'm INFJ, I was like, what?
I
Like I was
didn't
really
even know what that
surprised. I was
was.
like, because you talk a lot during the show, so I thought, outside of the show that may be the same. But I'm the same as you, so I know that you talk in a space where you're required to necessarily, you know,
Right.
or you can express what's going on. But outside of that, you can be really laid back and cool and calm, and you don't have like a whole lot to say. So I get it. But I was really impressed. What is your wife similar to you?
No, hers was adventurer actually, and
Okay.
she was surprised because some of the they were saying she was like didn't agree with a lot of it. She was just like, I don't know about that. Oh no, that's not me. I'm like, man, I'm looking at her like, babe, yeah, it is. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, you don't, because I think certain things, yeah, with her, I try to show her stuff, and I'm like, you know, I try to tell her things like, babe, you know, you might like this, or you might, you know, do this or that, and I see her get excited with particular things, but to her, she doesn't
Right.
recognize it. Like she doesn't recognize a lot of stuff, you know. So
Yeah.
we were reading and I was like, yeah, that's you. I can see it. You know, I can see that. I can see that, you know. So, and then certain things I feel like she's suppressed a lot of her personality.
Mm-hmm.
So it doesn't,
Mm-hmm.
you know, it only shines through in certain times and it's not consistent. So she's not able to really see it, you know. But yeah, but
Was
it's
she
cool.
turbulent as well?
What was hers? Man, I forgot. I told her to send it to me so I could have it for the show.
One
I
was
don't
the
remember if
one
she
was
was turbulent.
okay, because it makes when you say that she doesn't recognize it, it makes me wonder if she was turbulent, because sometimes the turbulent end of the personality will have like a lack of confidence in their abilities or what they do sometimes, and so she might not see it because she might not believe that that's kind of what's going on with her. So I just wondered
That sounds
if she
accurate.
had turbulence.
Yeah, no, that
I
sounds
wonder.
very accurate. You know, so that's
Yeah.
probably what it is. She may be. I'm gonna find out.
My husband is INFJ as well, and he is turbulent as well.
Okay.
Yeah, I got him. I actually got all but one of my kids because he was off at school. I got all of them to take it, and
Okay.
my daughter, we're reading off the list, and she is like, "Yep, that's me." And I see everything reading and listening to, and I was like, "Oh yeah, these are my children." Crazy enough, all of us start with an I. I don't have an extrovert in my family. Me, my husband, and my children, we're all introverts.
Okay. I think when I wasn't surprised at the introverted part of myself. I was actually shocked at how accurate it was, because there were certain things that it was able to articulate that I was like, yeah, that's me, you know. And I was like, I was never think to articulate, but I was like, you know, the way that they were saying it was like, yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's true. Because it kind of made me feel like, wow, I'm not the only person out there that actually feels this way. You know, like I'm not crazy. You know what I mean? Like, because sometimes like you just feel like, man, I'm the only person who's like this. Like, what in the world? You know, like I have no one that can relate. You know, so I guess I need to find these other people.
Some more INFJs. You know?
Exactly. I need to start a support group for us.
It was neat though, because I always like to tell when I meet another INFJ, I'm like, you know, we're the rarest personality, like we're the most, you know, unique personality out of the 16. But we're very in tune with, like, I feel like we're very earthy, we're very in tune with what's going on around us, what's going on in, like, if we're spiritual, we really are in tune. I feel like we're in tune with ourselves a lot more than some of the other personalities. So people, we know what we feel and stuff on the hard to express it to someone on the outside of it. And I can give you a personal experience with some of my friends because I'm the introvert that likes to be alone. But when I like being alone more than I like being with other people, if that makes sense.
Oh, right.
So I value my solitude. I can curl up and read a book. I can watch documentaries for days. And as soon as somebody else comes in asking questions and what's going on and why are you watching? I'm like, okay, I'll turn it off. I'll wait till you're gonna mess it up for me. You know, I'm that kind of person.
I'm like that too.
Yeah,
that's funny.
Yeah, it's like, you know, like you said, and that's what I love about psychology, because I feel like when people go to a therapist, they can hear what they know they feel, but they don't know how to attach words to it. So a counselor can say, you know, this is kind of what's, and you're like, I know I'm feeling that. I just don't know how to tell people what I'm feeling. I don't know how to tell people what I experience. So
right.
That way of, you know, putting words to feeling, and then it makes.
Yep. Yeah, it's like, you know what it is? It's I think that a lot of times, like going back to what you said about TV and stuff like that, I'm the exact same way. I'm like, I don't even watch TV that's live. If I can't rewind it, whatever, I won't even watch it, because if somebody comes in and starts talking, it's the most irritating thing in the world to me. If I'm trying to pay attention or, you know, watch something, like, you know, and I like that. I don't like being around people. It's just, it has to be a certain type of people or a certain group of people, because I can't, you know, I'm really good with one-on-ones, right? So like I can be, if it's like a whole crowd or group of people, move through the crowd, greet everyone, then that's when it becomes a little bit stressful for me for that.
Yeah.
You know, am I breaking up?
We should have named the show for introverts only. I am like that. I am like that with parties. Being with that certain person is valuable to me, so I want to be there for that certain person. But there are other times when, depending on what the crowd is going to be like, I will say thank you, but no thank you. And I had to get to a place where I started to say no, because the more I learned about being an introvert, the more I said, okay, I'm okay being an introvert. I'm okay not having to be in the midst of a crowd all the time. Not doing what everybody else does. That's fine with me. The problem becomes it's not fine with everybody else. Because they want you to do things. They want you to do things that they're doing. They want you to be part of the in crowd. But I don't have that extrovert tendency. I don't have that tendency to talk to strangers. I don't have the tendency to just, you know, chatter and have things come off my head, off the top of my head. I don't have that. Something can happen to me, and somebody may offend me. I'll say that. Somebody may offend me. And then in the moment, I may say something about it, like to stand up for myself. But like an hour later or 2 or 3 hours later, I'm going back through the scenario in my head, right? Like, did I do exactly what I wanted to do in that moment? Or should I go back and say something else? I really lay it through my head over and over again. And what I've learned later in life is now to kind of take a breath and refocus, so that I don't do things that really have been handled and I'm just overthinking. Like, I have to know the balance between I'm thinking too much about this, is not that serious, and did I stand up for myself and do something that was satisfactory for me? And if it was, then I can move on. You know, I don't know why I'm wired to where it comes up an hour later and what happened. You know,
right.
But the personality test it's fun in certain aspects because it's like so many of them. The one that psychologists really go by is called the Myers-Briggs. It's supposed to be like it costs to take it. Like if you went on Myers-Briggs, it's like $40 or $50 just to take that test. But it's like approved by but it's like approved by the American Psychological Association. So it's like tested, scientifically proven, all that kind of stuff. So other personality tests online are like kind of mimics of that. But 16 personalities was the most accurate for me. It's the most accurate.
Yeah.
It makes sense. And Myers-Briggs, we only had access to it when we were in school, and so I took it then. But my personality hasn't changed. It hasn't changed.
You said it hasn't?
It stayed the same.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Well, that's, you know what, and what I love about this is that it actually helps me, because really what I wanted to do was use it. I keep looking down because I have it here on the side, but what I wanted to do is use it to help me understand how to communicate personality types, because I feel like, especially once you said that it was, our personality type is like the rarest of the 16, I'm like, okay, then that's probably why I have trouble communicating with certain people, or I get frustrated in communication with other people. So I'm like, you know what? My whole theory, I always say this. I say, if I'm trying to relay a message to someone, I have to learn their language, not the other way around. So if I'm trying to convey something to someone, I'm like, okay, the best tools that I can have is if I know what their personality type is, I can read up on it. And that's why I started with my wife, because she's the number one person I need to communicate with. Still a challenge, but we're working on it.
Yeah.
But I think once I kind of learn her personality, like I learned some things about her, when we read last night, and I was like, and we kind of laughed about it. I was like, oh, so that's why you be in an attitude with me when I do X, Y, and Z, because I'm like, I'm thinking that I'm trying to communicate or, trying to resolve, and she's kind of like, hers was an advocate. So it says something about her being, she doesn't like to be, I guess, pressured or some way, like cornered or, put under pressure.
Okay, like put into a box.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Yes. So if I come to her and I'm trying to resolve, because the way I look at it is, I'm like, look, we have an issue. Let's get to the bottom of the issue. Like, let's not stop to just get to the bottom of it so we can handle it and move on. Like, so it's not drama filled. That's how I look at it. Yeah. And I realized that. So I'm like, I'm like, okay. So because I have this structure, she doesn't, that is the box. So she doesn't like that. So when I try to, structure things so we could just move on and be free, in my mind, I'm like, so we can be free. She's looking at it like I'm trying to put her in a box, and it makes her, respond back to me, I guess, in the way that I perceive her response is hostile. So to me, I feel like, well, if you're being hostile with me, then okay, like I said last show, I'm like, well, do you really want to do this? Because I'm like, if you really want to do this, we could go there, but I'd rather not.
Right.
But so it's kind of just a miscommunication. It's like, cool, this helps me understand how to deal, how to communicate a little bit better. And I'm not gonna lie, it's not easy. It's, for me, it's not. But
because it's a relearning of it's a relearning on how you communicate. Like, I didn't know. I knew my husband was introvert, but I didn't know that we shared the same all through the being intuitive and being the judging part of it and the feeling part of it. And I think the difference comes in because he's a man and I'm a woman, so we wife wired different in that way too. So
Right.
his feeling part is more internal. When he feels, I don't necessarily see it unless he physically says, that hurt my
Right.
feelings. So I
Right.
have to ask more questions to kind of get things out from him. And
Okay.
I think men are more in some experience, because you can speak to it because you're a man. But I think apart from like the personality part, our social aspect as growing up, him growing up as a black man, the way that men are taught how to handle emotions versus how women are taught. So his emotion doesn't come out as loud as mine does. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
If I'm feeling something, I'm feeling it. But
Right.
him, it may just be a stone face and you don't know what emotion is going on. You know what I'm saying? So, but it took for me to kind of understand that and for him to understand me. And it's not easy, like you said, it's a process of, okay, let me pause for a second. You go ahead and speak, and I won't say anything in response. Like, I'm not going to defend myself. I'm just going to take it all in.
Right.
And hear what you got to say.
That is a successful way of doing it, because that's exactly what we're looking for. And it's very frustrating and I literally just had one of these conversations, because I'm like, you're not listening to me. You know what I'm saying? And it's hard enough for me to express what I'm feeling. So if the only time that I'm going to express what I'm feeling to somebody is if my level of love for you is that deep, then I'm going to express those. Like, you're going to be able to see me being, there ain't too many people that's going to see me vulnerable, and we talked about that on the other show when, Andre was saying how, he gets more vulnerable or something like that, he said. And I was like, I've been trying to work on being that way. So if I open myself up to do that, and then what I'm saying is being met with like defense instead of just listening, is going to make me get angry. It's going to go from hurt to anger to aggression. But the progression of that is quick. You're not going to see hurt that long. You know what I'm saying? Like, you might not even notice the hurt part, because that's going to probably last about 60 seconds before it turns to anger, because then you start dreading and being angry at the person and yourself. Like, I get angry at myself for being open. I get angry at myself for even being vulnerable in the first place. So I'm like, now I'm mad at myself for being vulnerable, and I'm mad at you for taking advantage of me being vulnerable. And, and truthfully, that might not even be what's happening, but that's the way I'm perceiving it at the time. So then my aggression comes out, which only makes the person I'm talking to more defensive or aggressive as well. You know what I mean? In a situation. And then the next time, because honestly, what I feel after that is, okay, you'll never see vulnerability out of me ever again. And that's where it is. And that's when the stone face comes, where it's like, well, I don't know what you're feeling, and you're not gonna know what I'm feeling, because I don't want to tell you. You know what I mean? So I'm saying it's right,
but you, to me, you're displaying what I feel a lot of black men display. It's either I give you all of my emotion or I give you none of it. It's not like either. It's not a middle ground. It's like I give you everything or I give you nothing. But it's unhealthy for a relationship. You know what I'm saying? Because then when you put your wall up and you refuse to give anything, then we're doing this, and we're not coming together like this, like we want to come together. We're bumping heads all the time. And so it's an art, I guess I would say, of trying to find that balance. We're going to use you and your wife for example, and everybody in YouTube and Facebook land. I pray that they get some good stuff. But
Me too.
you said your wife's personality, she's more. Oh, well, let me take it back. Okay, so your personality is, I'm trying to explain something to you, and her personality is coming back like she either she's not getting it, or gosh, I'm trying to remember. Tell me again what was the personality for her?
Hers was adventurer. I forget what the letters were, but it said adventurer.
Right. Okay, so
and when it was
put into a box.
Right. Yeah,
Okay.
it said that she's the type that doesn't want to talk. Like, I'm the type that wants to talk it out. She's the type that doesn't want to talk. And a lot of times that's really our issue a lot of times, because I take it like either she doesn't care or she doesn't want to like admit fault or lying or resolution. Like, I feel like she's taking it light, but it was saying that, adventurers, they don't like to talk it out. They don't want to talk. They want to play, in a sense. Like, they want to keep things light. So for her, in a conflict, it's much easier for her to just say, okay, let bygones be bygones and just move on. And for me, that's like almost impossible. You know what I mean?
Right. Because you need meaning. You need meaning. You need stuff to make sense for you to move on. And it's kind of easier for her to just, okay, it happened, whatever, let's go. And it don't mean that she don't care. That's just how she's kind of made. So the thing would be to where it's less of button heads and it's more of coming together is, one, you did a good thing starting off as understanding each other's personality, right? So then the next thing would be is, okay, we're going to practice and exercise. And it's easy for any personality type, because we all got to communicate. So it don't matter what the personality type is. Start off with easy things that she can hear. Like, I love you. And then we talked about this maybe on the first show. What did you hear me say? And then she can repeat it back to you. And then kind of take it up a degrees. Like, second thing is, I like the black dress you wore 5 months ago to something, And then the next thing you would say is, well, I don't think, that you don't want to diss no black woman cooking. So let's change it. I saw when you ran over the curb the other day when you were backing out. I think you need to be a little bit more careful. See how she receives it. And then the goal is for somebody to be quiet while either you giving them praise or critique. Because you got to be able to receive both. And then also, it'll teach you when she lets you know what she heard you say. It'll teach you how she actually hears versus what you're trying to tell her. So if she says, I heard you say, I can't drive, you can say, look, I said, why did she perceive you saying something negative when you were trying to say something the opposite, like just to give criticism to say, maybe we can do this a different way. So you get out the driveway there. Why she didn't hear that versus something negative? So we have personalities, but we also have experience filters. So things come through our filter first, and sometimes we hear it through a filter, not through a clear channel. And sometimes it's like a lot of stuff in here we got to clear out before we can even hear it with them. So it's really like deep and complex, but a small thing to do is just be quiet when the other person is talking, and then ask for respect and doing the same when you're communicating with them. I hope that helps our people in YouTube and Facebook land.
Yes, exactly. And you have to be open, because sometimes I'll talk to someone and I'll say, what did you hear me say? I'm treating them like a child or something, like, I'm like having them repeat, and I'm like, no, I'm just trying to get understanding. It's hard sometimes when you're trying to, because to me, I guess what it is. I probably have to be more patient. Not probably. I know that I have to be more patient. See, and I don't know if it's because of our personality types. Like, as I'm speaking to you, I feel like I can talk to you, and we can, even if we had a conflict, I feel like we could work our conflict out real easy, because as the way we're speaking, it's like we're both in a place where we want to resolve the conflict. You know,
Right.
but some people don't want to resolve conflict. Some people don't want that. So it's like, how do you resolve it? And it's hard. It's very hard to anybody out there with this personality type. It's hard to resolve it if the other person doesn't want to. Like I'll use my sister as an example. A lot of times, my sister, Janelle, I love you, but she'll light the fire, spark, light the match, and then when it gets to burning and she wants to walk away, I'm like, no, like, you started this conversation, you wanted to start this, so then let's finish it. But when it gets heated, I feel like I'm making a point, and there's no response, or she'll be like, she's one of the people in my life that'll say, I'm not talking about this no more. That will send me through the roof, because I'm like, what do you mean? Like, like it's like we're almost there. I feel like we're making progress, getting to the bottom of the subject. And then because we're getting to the bottom of the subject, you don't want to talk about it no more. So how would someone with my personality type deal with that? Because we can't make anybody do anything. And I can talk till I'm blue in the face. I can get upset, get angry, respond with, aggression, whatever. But it doesn't mean it's going to resolve. So would someone with my personality type be able to deal with unresolved conflict?
Oh, that's a good question. It's loaded for me. It's loaded because one of the things I hear is, say a person, for example, like your sister, not wanting to finish or hear the rest of the conversation. There's some hurt involved, and some healing that needs to happen for that person, because they're unwilling to sit in the emotion and just feel it.
Okay.
The other thing is, we have to be willing to accept people as they are. One of my hardest things for me, because of things that happened in my past, it was hard for me to accept that that's where they were, and that's what they had the capacity to do. And even if I went and cried my eyeballs out and said, you really hurt me, this is what happened, if they weren't in a place to say, I'm sorry, let's talk about it, let's get to the bottom, there was nothing I could do to change that. Only thing I can control is me. So what I do going forward for my own peace of mind and sanity, because I know how I'm made up, I just definitely interact with that person on a level that is good with them, and I'm comfortable interacting with them. So I give example, a member of mine who I know has been hurtful, and their behavior hasn't changed over the span of 10 years. They're just going to be like that. I love them. We used to have really good times as a child, but as they grow older, even though I'm really fond of them and love them like something serious, I cannot connect with the person that they're on a level at, and I can't do it. And sitting down having a conversation with them, even is superficial because they won't admit to their wrongs. You know what I mean?
Right.
So,
right. How do you deal with that?
So, yeah. So, person, I don't go to them for meaningful conversation. I don't go to them for anything other than entertainment. Like, oh,
Okay.
you know, that's so funny, blah, 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 blah. You seen that TV show, small things, and the conversation might not even be 5 or 10 minutes. We just go on about our way
Okay.
because I can't entertain your food and you're not willing to acknowledge things that you've done wrong. But I do love you. So
Right.
I only operate in that capacity that that person has. And when that person is ready to really like have that conversation, then of course I'm ready for them. But I know I can't change the person. You know what I mean? I know I can't change them. I got to accept that they enjoy living the way that they live. And
Right.
even though, you know, an advocate wants to change the world,
Right. Right. Right.
I
Right.
can't,
Right.
you know, everybody, I can't make everybody do what I feel like I want them to do. So I have to learn how to accept the change, you know.
Right. I think that's the hardest. That's probably one of the hardest things then for advocates because, you know, it's like you want your heart wants to love and help people and, you know, make things
Yeah.
better, but it's like, you know, it's hurtful. You know what I'm saying? Like, what can you
Yeah.
do? You know, like you said, you can't change the person. I mean, I've dealt with this with people in my family. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's like, you know, and I'm not the type of person that's like, it's hard for me to even have conversations that's not meaningful. I refuse to have
Right.
superficial conversations. You know, somebody had put a meme on Facebook one time, and I copied it. You know, I shared it, and it said something like, it's hard to have a superficial conversation with someone that you used to have like real conversations with. And I'm like, yeah, I can't do it. You know, I know it's people who you know, that I've known. I'm not gonna name nobody, but it's people that I've known, you know, we were kind of close at one point, and then it's like, you know, time, you know, we part ways or whatever the case, but when we come back, it's almost like they're talking, it's like formal conversation. And I'm like, I'm not doing this. You know what I mean? Like, I'm like, what is this? You know, I just refuse to be fake. It's not in me. I don't know how to do that. I just can't be fake, you know, and I don't even want to be around you. I don't want to be around it. And maybe that's me. Maybe I'm being selfish because I know, you know, God wants to use me. He's trying to grow me, which is why I'm really taking this personality stuff seriously, because for my own personal growth, you know, but and I'm trying to learn, deal with it, because I can't really be an example. How can I one thing or preach one thing and then not really show love to somebody who loves you back? You know, it's hard to love people who don't love you back, even though they say they do. So it's like, but I can't, and I learn to love people, but I can't front. You know what I mean? Like, I can't fake. Like you said, if somebody says, like, you know, say I get in an argument or whatever with my sister or whatever, right? I love my sister. Me and my sister had ball out like hardcore arguments since we was kids, but I love her. The love, I mean, but I can't, if we have an issue, I can't deal with like an elephant in the room. I just refuse to do it. You know, I just can't. I can't do it. And it's hard for me to watch other people do it. It's hard for me to watch two people have a conversation when I know that they have an issue with, hey, girl, you know, da-da-da, and smiling, or what's up, yo, da-da-da, and they like acting like nothing's wrong. I'm looking at them like, y'all, why don't y'all just talk it out, and then we can get back to like whatever it is we was doing. I just can't do the fake stuff, man.
I understand it. I understand it completely. I'm very much the same. And I don't even make a phone call unless I have something genuine to discuss.
Right.
I don't. So I think I get people that misunderstand me because I don't like talking about unless it's something meaningful we're talking about. So,
Right.
I'm not one of those best friends that will call you every single day and chat. And
Right.
I literally don't have anything that's pressing on my mind,
Right.
and I stay as far away from drama as I can. So I don't have
Hmm.
any,
Amen. That.
gossip every couple of days to talk about. So I'm not that friend. And people sometimes think that I may be less available to them as a friend because
Hmm.
I don't have, we talk about capacity. I don't have that capacity. I don't have
Right.
let's just sit by and idly talk. When there's family gatherings, I'm like that. I say, hey, hello, and then I go sit and I chill. And if somebody
Yep.
comes, talk to me, whatever, I'm open. But for the most part, I'm just like, I used to think something was wrong with me. Like I didn't have, how does everybody else sit around and just make this small talk? And when people come sit by me, it's awkward because I don't have a lot to say. And I'm like, there's
Right.
nothing in my head coming to like I didn't have the conversation. And if a thought did
Right.
come, it was like in an hour I might have one. So
Right.
so
Yeah, it's
I used to
true.
think something was wrong with me. But now the more I understand to be introvert, the more it helps me to be comfortable in my own skin. And now
Right.
I work towards when people come around me or when people, I talk to people if they come up to talk to me, but I also try to let them know, I don't mean no harm if I'm not talking. It's just nothing in my mind, and I'm not being
Right.
mean. I'm not being standoffish. I'm not trying to, hurt your feelings. It's just who I am.
Right.
But I'm also that same person that would give you the shirt off my back. I'm the same person,
Right.
that will be there for you in any situation. I don't care what it is. I won't judge you for it. I'm that kind of person. So I show up when you need me. And if you
Right.
needed me, just conversation with you at a certain time, just call me. But don't expect me to call you every 3 days
Right.
or
Right.
every 2 days,
Right.
because that's not my
Right.
personality. So yeah, I think
And you.
I've learned to accept more of who I am by learning my personality, and then I'm less worried about how other people perceive me because I know who I am.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Got you. That, you know what? I think that's the key. What you just said, because that's, what you said. I was about to say that's what kind of hurts so much, because you're like, from I guess, and I'll speak for me. Like, from my vantage point, I tell people all the time, like, yo, I'm here. Like, people don't understand how, I don't think people realize how much I really love them. Like, the people that I love, I really love them. Like, you know what I'm saying? And it's like really deep. So when you know that you're available, like you said, you're available. You're not in everybody's face all the time. You're not like calling all the time, but it's like I guess, I take for, and I've said this before, I think that I take for granted that I just feel like people know how much that I love them or that I care for them, and maybe they don't know. You know what I mean? But I think that I take for granted that they do know, and I think that that's what bothers me so much or hurts so much when people have something. Oh, he not around, or I'm not there. I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I just I have a friend. Andre knows this friend. I love him, but we've had, and I'm like, he feels like if I'm not calling all the time or I'm not doing that, then it's like it can be an issue or whatever. And that may be his personality type. I got to find out his personality type is so I can communicate with him. But you know what I mean? But I'm like, to me, I feel like, sometimes I feel like I'm the only one that is available like that, and people are not even like fared like that for me. So it's, and so when you hear, I guess maybe when you hear that people feel like you're not there, it kind of feels like how can you feel that? So I guess what you're saying, it makes a lot of sense. And then again, you have to just accept, I'll just accept it sometimes. And it's not easy. Like I said, it's really not easy. You just accept it. Like, all right, people not going to understand me. They're going to feel like I don't care, even when I care probably more than they do. And I'm just going to have to just be okay with that. Because at the end, when all else fails, people say whatever they want, but then they come back and call anyway when they need help. So I'm like, if I'm never around, I'm not there, I'm so bad, then why come I always get a phone call when you need something? Like, it's tough, man. This is one of the things. But I guess this really does help.
Your personality is you're a reliable person. People know that you're grounded. They can count on you. They know that you're going to listen to them if they have an issue. They know this all about you already. And so I think the part about this particular personality type, and for people watching, we're talking about introverted, intuitive, and judging. That's INFJ. And that personality type is, I think we can get taken for granted because we are quiet, we are into ourselves, but we also need love and attention like everybody else. So just because I'm here right now and I'm telling you this is how I am, it's not all that I'm made of. I'm still made of love. I'm still made of like being social. I still like doing those different things. And I think people get like a taste of your best attributes, and then they want to feed on that, and they don't take into account all of who you are. You know what I mean? And so I think it's and I have to practice this. I was just practicing it because I had somebody inbox me and they were telling me about a problem. And my nature is to attack the problem and want to fix it.
Right.
And but I also knew that I was tired. Always comes to me wanting something or whatever. So I didn't respond. Because it started off kind of small talk, and then it ended up being, well, A, B, C, and D. And I'm like,
right.
I should have known it was coming, And those are the times we have to choose based on our own. We know ourselves, so you have to say, when is it a right time? And the Bible talks about sowing into good ground, right? We gotta look at it in the sense of we know when we're spreading seeds on fertile ground, and they're gonna listen and take what we've given them and use it to the best of their ability, or we give that's not really gonna be put to good use. They just want us to feel good at that moment, but it's really not gonna go anywhere past that moment. I began to learn those certain people in my life. And so now when they start to ask me something, I'm like, well, I guess you better go pray about it, because I don't know. And I think that's how we have to be to protect ourselves, because I have to remember, even in doing this show, right? I have to remember to read my devotional, to meditate, to think on something positive, to make sure I'm feeding my own soul, because we're doing this to the public, and that's taken from us. We have to make sure we replenish ourselves. So I think it's the same thing with this particular type of personality. We're more driven to help people, but we gotta know we need to so that we're not taken advantage of.
Right. And I think that's something that we need to learn, and then you learn over time. And sometimes it's through, some hard lessons. You know what I mean? Like sometimes
Yes,
you gotta get hurt, beat up. You know what I'm saying? It's like you gotta learn, and because you get drained. It's draining sometimes, and people don't realize it, and they don't see it, and then people will come, they'll draw from you. And then, once you have nothing left, then they toss you to the side like, well, oh well, you have nothing else to offer me. And you're sitting there like, man, I need someone to like do for me what I just did for, these 80 other people. And, you know, there's no one to do it for you. So you kind of got to do it for yourself. And then you start regretting. And it's funny because I read, when I was reading the personality type, it says it was talking about, and you had mentioned it too earlier when you said you would have a situation, then an hour later you would think about it and say, "Oh, did I do this right, or should I have done something?" Case, and I'm like, we are. It says we're. Let me read it. It says advocates are advocates are the most likely personality type to find it difficult to let go of past mistakes. Right, so you'll do something or help someone, and then when it doesn't come back, then my mind will go to like, man, see, I help people and this and that, and you start getting mad at your own personality, like, knowing in my heart that I still want to help people and that I love them, but I get mad at myself, like, why can't I just be selfish and like not care about nobody, and you know what I mean? Like I wouldn't be going through this mess or whatever.
You sound like my husband. I wonder if it's more me and INFJs that sound like that. Because you sound like my husband. Like I'm more on the side of, and maybe it's because I'm a assertive INFJ instead of a turbulent one. But
okay,
I tend to kind of, oh well, like I'm okay with certain things. Like
okay.
I guess I feel like I'm a little bit more grounded, and I try not to, because I have the moments, you know what I mean, like in certain moments where it's an interaction, because I don't like confrontation, but if I have to be in a moment where I need to take up for myself, I try to make sure I say something that lets them know I ain't no punk. But
right.
But then I have to go back, and when I go back and then I start thinking about it, like, did I do that right? Like, just kind of ruminate over it. But then there are other times when, if I give or I do certain things, I don't tend to ruminate over if I made a mistake in doing that, or these people don't do. It's kind of like I do it and then I walk away from it. Like I have I don't know. I kind of just attribute it to the personality, because I don't know what part of me makes me do that. I just do it. And I don't go back to it. So I got to read up on that more, because I just thought about that. I don't do it. Yeah.
Maybe that is the turbulent part, because it says, like, for me, I'm like, I tell people all the time, like, I realize this about myself, like, I'm not a person that really holds grudges. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
I don't like to hold grudges, but I like to, which is why I like to resolve issues. If somebody does something and they're like sorry about it, and they're like, okay, I'm sorry, whatever, then I'm like, all right, whatever, we can just move. Like, it's not a big deal. But my thing is like, and ladies, don't kill me, but sometimes, you guys can be a little more stubborn and not admit the fault, and that makes it harder for me to move on, because I'm like, if you can't even admit what you like, if you can't even admit what you did, then it's kind of harder for me to move forward. Eventually I do. It just takes longer for me, and that's when I start processes where I'm like, oh, okay, well, all right, well, I have to deal with you this way. You know what I mean? Because you can't even admit to me you know what I mean? But for the most part, like if somebody's like, oh, you know, my bad, like, you know, or this and that, and I'm like, all right, man, whatever, let's just move forward. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's because most of the time it's not a big deal. I'm more upset at the fact that you're not acknowledging the problem than the problem itself. You know what I mean? Everybody makes mistakes, but I'm like, if you can't even acknowledge a mistake, I don't know how to move forward from that.
Yeah, yeah. And it looks like, because I just pulled it up about the difference between the advocate and not the advocate, but the assertive
And the turbulent
advocate versus the turbulent. And it looks like the turbulent ones are how do I say it? It says their passions lead them to great accomplishments, and they're fueled by their regard for the people in their lives. It says they can become overly involved in the problem of others. And it can generate a hyper empathy. And then it says, sometimes you can be invested in something, but not be able to help to the degree that you think you should be able to help. And so then you become excessively harsh with your self-criticism.
Yeah, you know what? And that can be true. That was actually one of the things that I read, where at first I was like, but then when I thought about it, I was like, you know what? That's probably true. It probably is, you know, I was like, that's probably true. You know, I don't really know, you know, that's not something you're really aware of, I guess.
You're not really aware of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it definitely sounds like I can hear that the emotional part of you, the passionate part of you. I can hear it when you speak and when you talk about things that you care about. I can hear it.
Okay. Yeah, I know that's one thing I can say, that I know that I'm a passionate person when it's about, and I get excited, loud, like wife be like, yo, you be mad loud. I'm like, yeah, well, you know, I'm like, yo, I'm passionate about it. She's like, you passionate about everything. I'm like, no. But passionate about, you know, I am, I can get hyped. But and like you said, I don't like conversations like this. I could talk about these things all day because I feel like, you know, it's edifying. You know what I mean? Like if it's an edifying conversation, I could talk about it all day. If it's about nothing, like I'm not gonna talk about a reality show with nobody. I don't care. Like I'm not gonna even input anything into that. You know what I mean? If I don't know about it, I'm not gonna talk about it. I'm not one of those people that's just gonna like talk just for the sake of talking, you know? And not knocking that, because I'm sure, you know what I'm saying? Like that's, as I'm learning, you know, that just might be their personality type. And I feel like there's value in all of it. It's just finding the value and being able to appreciate the value. And that to me is what I'm excited about, because I'm like, I want to read up on these personality types so I can see the value in them and not just the hardship of dealing with them because my personality type is different. You know what I mean?
That's the good stuff. That's the good part. Yeah.
Yeah, and also taking responsibility for my personality type. Because the more I understand my personality type, then I can take responsibility for things. I'm like, all right, okay, so my personality is to perceive what you're saying or doing like this. So let me chill for a minute and just, you know, look at it. Because before all of this personality type stuff, which I didn't even understand that it existed in this depth, you know what I mean? It just, you feel like everybody's supposed to feel like you. You know what I'm saying? If you don't know any better, you're like, well, everybody feels like this. You know what I'm saying? So if you're doing this, then you're doing this with the intent of this, because you shouldn't be doing X, Y, and Z. But that's not the case. You know what I mean? Like some people don't mean any harm. And if you don't understand this stuff, then you're not going to know how to distinguish, you know?
I always said, you know, when they talk about what we should be taught in high school, because when I was coming up, they were teaching home economics and a civics class, and I tell my kids, if they have the opportunity, take psychology 101 in high school. that will help you
Yeah.
understand people a whole lot differently than we do just growing up. Because just growing up, all you know is what your parents taught you, what you see in the world, what you can gather from observing what's happening. But it's in any subject, like if history kind of goes in depth and teaches you how things came to be. And then science does the same thing, but nobody teaches us about the mind and the way it works. And the other thing, of course, is money. Nobody teaches us about money and the way it works. These are like fundamental things we should know coming out of high school, I think.
Right. Yeah.
Because these agencies and all these people, and I don't know if you guys watch this. It's a little bit off the topic. The Netflix documentary, The Great Hack. Have y'all seen that?
What is it called?
The Great Hack.
No, I haven't seen that.
Please check it out.
Okay.
Please check it out. So on The Great Hack, Facebook used personality tests, or like sometimes they have these little games, like what do you like most, this or that, or certain things. So Facebook had these personality type questions, and then they would pop up as sponsored ads. People would answer them. They would collect that data, send it overseas to a place in Britain, and then they use that data to target voters during Trump's campaign.
Wow.
So we need to be taught psychology in high school, because the big corporations use psychology every day to get us to buy stuff from them as consumers. They use our thoughts, they use our behavior patterns to do this stuff. They got one up on us basically, because we don't learn psychology, or we only learn it because we're in the field. But it plays a very big part in our daily lives, and we don't know it.
Wow. Yeah, definitely true. It's definitely true. Actually, the reason that we don't learn it in high school, not to be a conspiracy guy, but that's the reason, is because it's definitely the reason we don't economics, in high school. Because personally, I feel like we should be learning about money for high school. By high school, I think we should actually be, because high school kids can find a way to actually prepare themselves to pay for school, pay for college, find different ways while they're in high school. I think if we learn the basics, the younger that we learn the basics, the better. I mean, listen, if we can learn times tables and memorize, all these different things, and once we learn decimals and fractions, we can learn about money. You know what I'm saying? And we learn those things before high school. So why do we get to high school and then they start teaching us these algebra games where there's no numbers anymore? It's just letters, and we're trying to figure it out. Why are we not learning, how to handle money? Why are we not learning budgets? We should have classes and courses on budgets, classes and courses on, percentages and, things like that. But we don't.
Yeah.
We don't. And if we don't learn it at home, our parents can't teach what they don't know. Right.
Yeah.
And that's why I feel like the rich.
Not enough time a day for parents to teach your kid everything, unless you can afford to do homeschool.
Right.
But yeah, I wanted to bring that up because personality tests are used in a lot of different things, and they used to kind of try to discount personality tests and this kind of thing. But if you go study the theories of personality or different things like that, like from stores to target neighborhoods, I mean, it's a major deal. And just by us having our conversation about personality and taking a test, we learned a lot about ourselves that we couldn't put into words before. So imagine people that have their hands on this information already, just knowing what type of person to target with what based on your personality.
Right. Yeah, I think I can't blame them. I mean, hey, why not use the information? You know what I mean? Like, it is like you said, it's an advantage if you understand it. You know, which is why it's good to to take. I wish I really want everyone to take this test. Listen, the test is called 16 personalities. Go to 16personalities.com and take this test to have better with yourself, with other people. I would say take this personality test and who that you are in relationship with, and not just romantically. I mean, friends, family, to take the test and then find out they're right. It might really give you some understanding in who you're communicating with. Like I said,
Yeah.
if you want to learn how to communicate with somebody, you have to know their language. I can't. All the time I say, if I'm speaking who only speaks French, and I'm trying to relay a message to say I want them to, if I say tomorrow at 8:00 in the morning, and they speak French, and I don't speak French, and I keep trying to explain this to them in English, and they're getting frustrated. It's kind of my fault because it's not responsibility to learn English for me to tell them what I need to tell them. It's my responsibility to learn French so that I can relay the actual message to them, because they're not asking. I'm trying to give them a message, so I'm trying to communicate with them. So, it would help if they knew my language, but I can't expect them to understand my language. I have to understand their language so that I can relay the message, and vice versa. If they want to tell me something and I don't speak their language, they can't be mad at me because I don't speak their language. I can't go to Mexico and speak English to everyone and get mad at everybody for not understanding what I'm trying to tell them. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I went to Mexico, So it's the same thing I feel like with these personalities, and that's why I wanted, like I said, that's why I wanted my wife to take it, because I'm like, we need our communication. I feel our communication is not bad, but it can always be better. And I feel like if she takes the test, great, then it's on me. Whether she studies my personality type or not, I'm going to study hers so that we can communicate better,
Yeah, and you'll get to know each other better. And I think too, taking the test, it helps out with your communication with your friends and your romantic partners. Also helps out with your career goals, knowing what jobs you fit in best. Based on how you deal with things, how you communicate, what should I do? My daughter's personality type basically said she is not going to be comfortable in a 9-to-5. She is not going to want to be in a job where people are having to manage her or put her in a box. She's going to have to, and she wasn't, but she had some of those traits to where she's very analytical, smart, could have been a mathematician or something, but she would need to be able to be in her own bubble and be able to do creative stuff with that. She wouldn't want, and I see that in her daily life. She draws, she's very good at art things, she's very good at music. She's like a multi-talented person, but she's introvert and she wants to be to herself. Don't invade her space. And I can see I can see how that works. So it's really good, all across the board, and just to understand yourself better. You know what I'm saying? I get why I am the way I am, and it helps myself. So when other people have a problem with that, I'm sorry. That's something you got to figure out, because I'm B&E, and it's okay for me to be. So it kind of validates your experience that you're having in daily life. Like, why are people looking at me like this, or responding to me like this? You kind of get an understanding of that.
Yeah, it definitely does help with that. It's been helping me since I took it because it just it's almost like a breath of fresh air. Like, okay, whew, I'm not crazy. All right, there's other people out there that
Right.
feel the way that I do, you know. And hearing what you're saying about your daughter sounds like exactly like me. And I'm like, man, I wish when I was younger. I don't know how old your daughter is, but boy, if I had this when I was in, like you said, in high school or before high school, oh, the troubles I would have avoided. You know what I mean? Like I would have
Right.
known to, I would have known to stand on my confidence. It would have gave me more confidence in the decisions that I made. Because here's the catch-22. I guess it's funny, but it's not funny. It's like looking at it now, I realized, okay, I was going down the right path. No one else understood that I was going down the right path. And because no one understood, and reading my personality type, it says that I look for, or I share things with like the people that I love. Like if I have a new idea, for example, and I'm like, man, I got this idea, and I'm excited to share it with the people that I love. So I'll share it, but if they don't understand it, it kind of almost second guess it. Maybe and I'm like thinking it now because I'm like, because it's kind of like I know it's a good idea, but I don't know it's a good idea. So it makes me question the idea. Had I had this information when I was in high school, oh man, I would have probably been like, listen, whatever. I know this is a good idea because so many ideas that I've had, and people were like, oh, that's not going to work. That's not going to work. And then 2 years later, someone made like $1 million off of it, and I'm like, man, I said this, and I get, it's like you get so tired sometimes of being this. So now, as an adult, you're like, okay, when I hear people say it, I'm like, all right, whatever. I don't care if you know. You know what I mean? It's almost like I listened to people who didn't understand for so long, and I finally understand that I know what I'm talking about. You know what I mean? So I try to encourage other people to like not listen, follow, what it is that you want to do, because people are not going to understand, and your personality is just the fact that you understand it and they don't. And as humans, we want to be understood. We want to be understood.
Yeah.
And it's very hard to be misunderstood. And maybe, maybe it is because our personality type is so rare that I felt misunderstood most of my life. You know what I mean? So it's like one of those things that, that we deal with. So anybody out there watching, hey, if you advocate, what is it? What's the letters? I forgot the letters.
INFJ.
Yeah, INFJ.
So
if you're an INFJ, yeah, just listen. Like Sharonda said, be comfortable in your own skin, because most likely the idea that you really a good one, just because everyone around you doesn't think so, it doesn't mean that it's not. Just be confident.
Yeah, just be confident. I definitely. I joined after I took my because one of my and I'm going to wrap it up because I know we can talk for a very long time about this.
Yes, I know. I look at the time.
But I joined. I was struggling with having like meaningful connections with friends. Like I have friends, but I don't have like a bestie, so to speak. And so I was kind of struggling with that because I felt like there are times, and I read this about my personality. I'd call it being picky. But I'm very much so aware of who I want to spend my time with and who I would like to sit down and conversation with, because I know that real and genuine part of me doesn't want to be fake and doesn't want to have superficial conversation. So I probably only ran into 2 other really important people in my lifetime that I connected with on that level, but life changes and different things. So we're not as close as we used to be. So I like my alone time, but I have a friend that I connect with, outside of home life and that kind of stuff. So I found a group on Facebook, funny enough, that is INFJ personalities.
Oh, wow.
And when I got into the group, everybody was saying some of the same stuff. Are you feeling this? Do you ever have instances when you have this? Like they're all on the same page. So that to say that there are like Facebook groups, probably support groups. I'm just not aware of all of them. But based on your type of personality, and I would say especially to introverts, if you're feeling misunderstood, kind of out of place, there's a place for you. And maybe you just need, time to research it, look it up, and figure out exactly where you fit so you don't always feel out of place, because you have a tribe. We all have a tribe. It might take some of us a little longer to figure it out, but we have one.
So that's very encouraging.
Yes, we have a tribe. So I just want to encourage people to take the test, like JD said, the 16personalities.com, and figure out your personality and see where it leads you to. I think, you'll really like the results.
Yes. And I think my final thought will be this. First of all, thank you, Sharonda. Thank you, Andre. And I'm going to say this. Please, when you take the test, be honest. Be as honest as possible. Don't overthink it. Just be as honest as possible. If you're not, you're only cheating yourself. If you're taking the test to try to look good or have a good personality type for when other people see it, listen, then you're wasting your time. And it's not helping you. It's not going to help you at all. It doesn't help to have a false personality type, because it's just, it's a waste of time. So please just be as honest, and it really will help, man. And listen, God bless you.
Yes.
All right. Well, Dre, you can take us on.